All right, here we are, we're live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the fourth Inner Fire Women interview. I am so excited about this one. Today, we are going to talk with Erica Anthena Lebrun, and we are going to reconnect with the phenomenon of menstruation. So before we begin, I just want to mention that I am offering a free workshop this weekend. It is the Love the Shit Out of Yourself workshop. It's free and it's for women. We start at 9:30 tomorrow, go till noon, and at 9:45 I close the meeting, so there's no latecomers, so we can honor the group and create that safe container together. So if you're interested, go ahead and sign up on the Inner Fire Women page. There's the event, Love the Shit Out of Yourself workshop, can't miss it, and I look forward to it. So without further ado, I would love to introduce Erica. She is the co-founder of Mme L'Ovary. And if you do not know what Mme L'Ovary is, it is a zero waste solution to disposable sanitary products. And even beyond that, Erica has a mission. She is also aiming, because she's the co-founder, so she has a partner who is also aiming to debunk, re-enchant, and ultimately reconnect the phenomenon of menstruation with our society and as a part of our society and with the dignity and importance that it deserves. That for me, when I read that, that's why I put it up there, because I thought it was so powerful. I mean, what a statement, what a mission. And so this woman is really showing up as a leader in her community, and I am honored to have her here and to discuss the phenomenon of menstruation. So here we are. I'm going to bring her on board. If I do this and this, there she is.
Hey, hello.
Oh, thank you so much, Erica, for being here. It is such a pleasure to have you.
Same.
Such a pleasure and an honor.
What a beautiful introduction. I almost had chills myself. I was like, wow, yeah, this is a great mission to debug. It's just nice to see it just out there. So thank you for that introduction.
You're welcome. It is powerful. Like when I read your bio, I felt motivated. I felt awoken. Like something in me went, like wanted to cheer. Yes, thank you for doing that. And it's definitely a huge part of why I felt so called to have this conversation with you, to bring this to the community so that women can have a chance to discover you and discover what you're offering in the world and how you're changing it. So yeah, definitely welcome.
Hey, I'm happy to be here and be with your community and whoever is listening right now or will be listening later. I hope this, can just bring little seeds of knowledge or seeds of new perspective on menstruation, because that's really my mission and why I'm doing what I'm doing. So,
and so you are reconciling women with their menstrual cycle, like that. Right. But that's the intention behind the creation. So tell me more about your story, about the creation of Mme L'Ovary. Like, how did you meet your partner? How that unfolded for you.
Right. Well, for that, I have to go back to when I was 15 as a teenager, which was my first contact with menstruation. So for me, it was such a, I was looking forward to get my menstrual cycle, because all of my friends in my group of friends, they all had it. And I was that kid that was super thin, like no boobs, like very I was still like in a child kind of body. And all my friends would have shapes and just becoming women. And I was still like this little girl. So in a way, I was like hoping to get them so I could have that transformation myself. And I was 15, still didn't get my period. And I remember going to the doctor and a family doctor, and just having this saying, oh, I have pain a bit in my belly, and I had like, teenage acne, and like the family doctor said, well, maybe, you're almost getting your period, maybe just take the pill now and it's going to start it. So in my 15 years old mind, I'm like, oh, like big deal, thank you, like I've been waiting for that. And he said, oh, and the acne will be cleared, like it's just like hormonal, so this will stabilize it. And so that was my first cycle. I had it because of synthetic, because of pills. So my body never learned how to really just have their own rhythm. Like I straight away came with the pill.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's for me where my story started. And I've had a journey from 15 years old to 21 years old. I took the pill, but every time I would change, because every time I would have like belly aches or side effect, I was not feeling myself. And so I had a journey in which I tried, I think, 4 different types of pills. Then started to wear like Nuvaring, which is another contraceptive thing. And then I ended up having the Sterilet,
The IUD.
IUD. So basically that was my journey until I hit a point. I was like, you know what? I want to feel what it is to be like me with my own hormones. Like I want to feel me and stop all of that. And the moment I decided that, I felt straight away empowered. First of all, I was like, okay, I'm choosing just to feel what it is to be myself and to work with what is there, no matter what. And it took a year and a half from that moment I stopped the hormones or whatever to getting a cycle back. So during that year and a half of not having any period, it was kind of the journey for me, which awoken me to how much I was missing having this cycle and how important it is for a woman to feel like a woman, to have this monthly cycle. And when you're cut of it, you feel in a way, I felt in a way cut of my own self, my own femininity.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's really personal, all personal story, but that just to tell you from where I come from, have trying all of that, this year of not having my periods, from getting it back. And when I got it back, it was such a gift. I was so happy. I was so happy. And it's like when you've been missing something so much, like you see the value of it also. And from that moment, I think I could not see my menstrual cycle like it was very different the way I would see it. So that's just like the story, let's say, of myself. And yeah, to get back to Mme L'Ovary, like how this intertwines into that story is when during the year I didn't have my period, I was kind of traveling, all of that, and then I got my period back, and I started using the cup, because for me there was no way that this precious blood that I've been waiting for so long to get back would go into the trash. It was like, even like, yes, the ecological perspective, but like there was something like I could not like put it in a pad, and I don't know, there was also something in my mind that was not fitting anymore with disposable. So I started to wear the cup, which was really great, and then the pads that had like clips. And then that's where I met Olivia, which is my co-founder, the co-founder of Mme L'Ovary. And she was a circus artist, like doing all crazy stuff on stage, always training, always on stage. And she was this very creative mind, and she just decided to create her own like panty with like very simple. She just sewed a piece of a bath towel inside her underwear. The
first model was that's amazing. Okay, the prototype.
Yeah, so that's the ancestor. We like to call it the ancestor of Mme L'Ovary. So yeah, so we were at that time in my life, I was living in Mexico, and she was also living in Mexico, and we met there. Actually, we met in Mexico, but we were like 4 hours away, and we would visit each other. So I would go in the weekend, and she would come. And at some point, I went to visit her, and I had my period, but I was not prepared with my cup. I didn't have my stuff. So, and I was like, oh no, there's no way. I don't want to go buy like pads and tampons. Like, it's like, this is a no. Even for like emergency, I felt like I couldn't.
Yeah, you had already like shifted over to a whole other way of doing it. Yeah.
So I was like, I don't know, there was something in me that I couldn't. And then she's like, hey, let me show you what I did for myself. And that's where she showed me her underwear and how it was made and everything. And to that moment, that's where I tried that concept. And I was totally blown away, honestly. In my mind, it was like, why anybody like thought about this before? Why isn't this a thing? Like,
good question. Why isn't this
really? So that was like the haha moment. And from that on, we started. I wanted to have for myself, and then for my sister, and then we were like, oh, but this fabric only sells in rolls, so we need to like have big quantity. And we're like, well, how much underwear would that make? Like, and they're like, oh, 400. Like, okay, maybe we can do it. So it was not really like, we never thought, oh, we're going to do a business of that. We just like did the things that came, and we're like, okay, yeah, okay, let's do it. And then next step, and now to where we are right now. So
wow. It's such a beautiful story of like your self-discovery, you know, through not having your period, to then, because of that, having this craving to connect with your period.
Yeah.
And then, you know, attracting the person in your life that's going to support you to even do that further, and then bringing it into the world for others. You know, that's really, and, you know, your story touches me because so often I hear women say like, oh, I have my period, or, you know, some women have the IUD and they don't have their period anymore and they're so happy not to have it. So that's something that I'm really curious about, because, you know, for me, my assumption is that our society makes it so to have our period is challenging in, you know, in our everyday lives. So for women to not have them is like, oh, I don't have to deal with that extra, you know, thing every month. Whereas when I hear you talk about how much you want to be connected to yourself, your femininity through your blood, and like, that touches me. So I'm, you know, there's these like kind of two worlds, and I feel like I want to know more about your love for your period. and you know, we talk about, like, when we connected the other day, we talked about like the potential of the period. And I want to know more about that, because I want to be inspired to want to love my period, you know. And I still, like, I welcome it way more than I have ever, but oh no, I have this event and I'm gonna have my period during that event, and I'm like, oh, you know. So yeah, tell me more about the power, potential, and the power of the period.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's such a good question, and it's such something I'd like to share, and it really comes from like my experience, and also what I've been inspired by so many different people, different cultures, and also different rituals that exist around menstruation, not in in our culture, but in other culture. So, but starting, like, let's say for me, first of all, the way I experience now the menstrual cycle is that it is such a tool. And it's like, you know, a life coach. Now there's a lot of life coach in this world right now. I like to think like the menstrual cycle is like a coach for yourself. like within, that is there like 24/7 for you. And when I talk about, I like to make the distinction about the menstruation, which is the menstrual phase where you bleed. But the menstrual cycle is the whole hormonal change that includes the phase of menstruation. And that in itself, like this cycle is the coach. And why I say that is it's a way to regulate, in a way, our health, our emotional well-being, our physical well-being, our spiritual well-being, because through those phases we'll go into hormonal changes, which really change like our neurochemistry. It changes the way we think, the way we see things, the way we perceive. And this allows us to work in different area of our life and shed light on different area of our life. So I see it as a coach and as a gift, because we have the opportunity every month to be in the first state, which is more creative state, let's say. And then this changes, and then we go into a more communicate, like we have this power of getting more communication skills in another phase. And then when we get premenstrual, which we don't like, because in society there's no space for it, and it's normal that we can have like conflict between how we feel and feel like, oh shit, like you said, like I have an event, and then and it's true, because in a way our life is the life that we're living, and the society is made in such a way that is linear, and it's like it's like patriarchy, right? It's like 24 hours and it's always like this, and we need to be consistent. But the truth is women are not, and we will have super high productivity mode that when we tap in, it's amazing. But for this, we need we need to rest. And if we rest enough during that phase, then it's like giving so much power to this one. But because we're trying to like make it even, and we're like trying to battle, and I don't think we want to battle, but I think it's first a lack of awareness, and then a lack of, it's hard because the society, for myself too, like I'm talking and I'm still working on making my life work around my cycle and make it part of it, so I can plan according to my cycle and plan my schedule also according to that. So I'm sorry if I go a bit all over the place.
No, this is so rich. Like I'm with you right now. It doesn't feel all over the place. It feels like I'm really understanding that there are moments within our cycle to rest in order to feed the moment of productivity, and that if we don't respect that, then we're taking away from that energy, and therefore we're not as productive as we could be, or clear-minded in our productivity. And as an entrepreneur, I get that, because so often am I pushing, I'm like, I'm tired today, or I just want to like cocoon and dream and be in that mode. And I'm like, nope, I can't. I have to be consistent. I have to show up. I have to, and it's a really hard habit to break. But when I hear from you, and I can sense it, like, oh, there's wisdom there. There's something rich in that listening. But it seems like it's so subtle in us that all the noise on the outside is kind of tuning it out.
Yeah.
I being in contact with you helps to sort of like bring it back. I'm like, oh, okay, yes. Oh yeah, there's the
Totally.
So I get what you're saying. Yeah.
And it's like, so first, like the way I see it also, to make it more simple, let's say somebody's like, okay, I want to tune into my cycle. How do I do that? Or how do I can start to observe? It's basically that, it's to observe. The first thing to do is to really start to observe ourselves. And because life, and there's so many things, it's sometimes hard to keep track and to see the patterns, so it can take time. But I like to say to people, like the app to get an app first, like on your phone, to help you see. Because when we get sometimes premenstrual and we start to feel more tender and more like close to our feelings, and we feel those things and we forget that it could be related. And then when we realize, we're like, oh, that's why. But we every month, like, and I hear my friends and a lot of women, we're all like, oh, that's true. And what if you knew, like, you would have battled less your feeling, and you're like feeling tender, instead of being, oh, I shouldn't feel that way, or why am I feeling that way, and all that energy spending to be like, why am I like emotional like that? You could just be like, oh, okay, I'm entering in that phase, and honor it.
Yeah.
And like in my personal life, I used to not cry a lot. Like, I was just saying, oh, I'm not a very emotional person. Like, I felt I was like, nah, I mean, there are people emotional, people that are not. And I thought I was like on the not emotional part. And for me, my menstrual cycle has been a big gift to allow that to happen. Because suddenly I could be emotional and feeling a need to cry, and really letting it as a like personal hygiene, you let it cry without attaching any story to it, without having to mentalize and say like, why am I crying? Am I emotional? What? No, it's just, you're going through a phase, you're maybe premenstrual, you're more tender, it moves stuff. Let yourself cry and help it, like put like sad music and help it out, because it's an hygiene, and your menstrual cycle is helping you to do that hygiene for you. Because maybe if you would be linear and not have those hormonal change, you wouldn't have those cues. So they're like little cues, like biochemically, that are embedded in us, that helps us to have a better hygiene, emotional, spiritual, and physical.
Wow. I love that. Hashtag cry for your personal hygiene. That's amazing. Oh my goodness. I'm all for that. I'm like, because that happens to me all the time. I'm just like, I'm just gonna let this happen. And of course, I feel so much better afterwards.
Mhm.
Like, I feel like I released something that I didn't need anymore, and then I can go. But took some time to honor it. I mean, I love this because you're really helping me bring it to my cycle, because I've been on the path of welcoming my emotions for quite some time, but to also have this awareness around where I am in my cycle when this emerges is definitely insightful. I like it very much. And wow. Yeah.
Also, I just made me think that it's also different for every woman. So there's like some guidelines, like you can find online, just typing menstrual cycle phases, and then you get like cues of, okay, this hormone usually acts as it gives you more energy, you're more like in your body, you want to work out, you feel more strong, okay, there's this. And then the other part, you're more creative. But that's guidelines, and it's fun to read because you can say, oh yeah, I can relate to this. But what's really fun is like when you observe and you really find for yourself what's the pattern, then that becomes really, really fun, because you can see how much you're on a cycle, like you're yourself, but you're going through those things, and it's wonderful. It's like a little treasure quest. I'm still on it. Like, I'm still like trying to pinpoint better, like, oh yeah, I feel very energetic. For me, it's like just maybe the 2 days before I get my periods, I will feel a rush to like work out. Like that's a thing that I discovered, and it's not like I didn't read it anywhere, or it's just I start to realize it. Anyway, there's so many little examples, but
oh my goodness, yeah, that is different, because for me it's the opposite. Like like the days leading to it, I'm just like, I just wanted to tell you. Oh my goodness, wow. So do you have like a practice? Do you have an app that you use? Do you, like, I've read at some point, that taking your temperature, the secretions, like writing that down, like there's a whole process. Do you do all that?
I'm so bad at it. Oh my God. I've been like trying. there's something for me with consistency right now that I have a hard time to to harness. So honestly, I didn't do the experience. I bought it, like the thermometer, the
Thermometer, yeah.
thermometer. But I haven't tapped into it. But I know this is a beautiful technique for women that wants to also work on their fertility or work to know when to not be fertile. So as a I lost my words in English, but as a way to not get pregnant, basically. Right. So it's called la méthode symptothermique method. There are information online, and basically what you need is a thermometer to check your uterus, like the entrance, and check the secretion. And with that graphic, with those three elements, you'll be able to know exactly when you ovulate, when you're more fertile, when you're not. So it's a whole like thing, and it's beautiful because it really helps you like know a lot about your cycle, and it helps you if you want to get pregnant or not get pregnant. So that's like a full deal. So
what is it called?
I could write it
in the notes, in the comments, yeah.
But for women that are in Quebec, the organization that has been working and promoting and helping women with that technique is called Serena Quebec. And we invited them at one of our events that we do with Mme L'Ovary so that they can like tell us about it. And that's where I learned basically about it. So I really highly recommend it as a tool, but this is like the Tesla of tools. I would say for if you want to go like just like very simple, just keeping track in your calendar, whether it's a paper calendar or online, or just start to put there in your calendar when you're getting your period, or the app. The app's actually better if you have a smartphone. This is nicer. So at least you have that. And most of the apps also ask you a question. You can enter other entries and that gives you more accuracy also.
I really love that. I started using an app and it's called Flow, F-L-O. Do you know of it?
Yeah, I think it's the best one.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. And it has like, it will let me put all sorts of, mood and symptoms. And what I find fascinating is that I forget really easily about, the day I had a headache or the day that I felt swollen or all these things. And then if I need to go to the doctors for something, or if I have a question or my body's like my system's not quite regulated, I can refer to it. And then I'm like, oh, I forgot that I had, and it helps me collect information. So yeah, I really enjoy the app for sure.
The app is a really great tool. Observe yourself. And I would say at some point also get more within the menstruation cycle. My friend Sarah Maria Leblanc, she's an amazing therapist. She works with women, and she says like if you can manage to really rest for 2 hours during your menstrual cycle, your menstruation, it would give you so much energy in the rest of the cycle. And she kind of challenged me to do it, and it's amazing. And she said rest, like you're not reading, you can be reading if it's really, but you're really like taking this time to rest. So nothing productive, nothing.
2 hours a day?
2 hours during your menstruation. So
I see. Does it have to be 2 hours like in total, or 2 hours at the same time?
I think at the same time was the idea. I could ask her more, like, but that's how I understand it. And it's just like we said before, it's like if you rest during the time that your body needs to rest, it actually boosts you so much more in the phases that you're more higher energy. It will really boost everything else. So
it's so important to have a practice, to have a practice around that, to bring the awareness, to have these discussions. Like I'm realizing right now how rarely I even talk about my period with my friends, and or my mother for
Yeah.
that matter, or my sister. Like it's not a conversation that we open up on, and the power of it, and you were saying when we connected a few days ago, or it was yesterday actually, when we connected, you said that you have women in your life that inspire you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You want to talk to me about them?
Oh my God, but there's so many. Well, I would say, well, there's so many. Here in Quebec, there's a lot of women now working with women, like Mme Lebrun that wrote the book on the menstrual cycle and all the plants, the medicine. There's also Claire Do that does Moon Sisters. She's doing red tent and pink tent for teenagers. So she's working a lot also on educating women. There's France Richard. She's working with, anyway, I could just like, let me give you a list. There's a whole bunch. But in my story, I have to say, I think where I got most, I don't know, hook or just like a flash of how much important the menstrual cycle was I remember being in Colombia, and I went to visit a tribe in the mountain named the Kogis. Okay, and I spent 10 days there. And at the end of my 10 days, I was supposed to go on the 10th day, but I got my period on that 10 days. And when we arrived, they were saying, if you women get your period, like please go advise the grandmother that in the tribe, because there's a message, like you need to go talk to her. Wow. So it's my last day, and I'm like, well, it's just starting, like I'm not sure if I have to go speak with her. I wasn't sure. So anyway, I go anyway. And she looked at me and she said, oh, well, you can't leave then. And I'm like, oh, well, I have to explain. Like my brain is like, well, yes, I have to leave, kind of. She said, not really. She said, you're in communication with the mountain right now. You're communicating with the mountain, like you need to stay. And for her, it was just like, no, I mean, you can't leave. And I was like, okay. And at that, and I was kind of helping out sometimes in the kitchen and everything. And when I got my period, and she's like, you don't do anything. You don't touch anything. You just rest. You're with us, but you just passive. You just rest. And for the first time of my life, I was kind of obliged or forced to rest in the community. But it was not the city. It was not Montreal. I was not in my job. So, but I was like, oh my God, I was in the hammock, for 5 days. And that was such a learning curve. And also what was beautiful, she gave me a little cotton, like, the cotton when you remove whatever. She gave a little piece to me. And she said, please just put a little bit of blood on it and put it in a leaf and give it back to me. You need to like put it in the earth and do an offering for that. So there was this whole like sacredness around the menstrual blood and around how it's a communication and how powerful and open we are when we are bleeding. We're really in connection with our Mother Earth, the earth. And I'm saying that and it sounds like spiritual woo-woo, but they also did like tests, and they've put like things on the brain to see like the electromagnetic field of when a woman is bleeding, and it's like so it changes, our field changes, we get in another vibration. So we are like communicating, like the science shows it but doesn't talk about it, obviously.
Wow.
Yeah,
so that is
yeah, that was one of the most like powerful. And just to end that story, because that's funny, like, at the end I was like, okay, now I really need, like, I stayed finally for like the 4 or 5 days, and at the end I was still like, by the end you're still spotting, but you don't consider yourself still menstruation. And I was like, I really need to go. So I was like, no, I'm going tomorrow. And even though I'm still spotting, like I was not done, but almost. And I woke up that morning and there was so much rain. And I was supposed to go with the little motorbike to go down. So much rain, all the roads were like not practical.
They were flooded?
They were flooded, so we couldn't go anyway.
Oh,
So I had to stay.
wow.
I was like, that's a fun one. Funny. Very funny.
Mother Earth was like, yeah, you think you're going somewhere? Nope.
I think you're lying to. Like, really?
I keep saying wow because I'm just so in awe of it. And there's a part of me that yearns for that motherly, you know, wisdom and attention that women like, yeah, that those women that told you. It was one woman that yeah, that was just like, no, like you can't leave because this is important. This is the connection. And you know, I heard somewhere that women used to say, instead of I'll think on it, is I'll bleed on it.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's it. I'm like, oh, la, 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 la.
It's so good.
It is. That is something, huh?
It's so good. I love that one. Because it's saying what I hear is like, let me do a full cycle in which I will be more aware of different, my light will be higher on different things. And then I'll see the full picture. Once I did that cycle and I bled on it, I'll know what's right.
Oh, well said. Well said.
Yeah.
Oh, this is so exciting. I would like for us to also talk about the practical side of things.
Yeah.
So there's, because with Mme L'Ovary, where I'm curious to know with your experience, because you definitely spoke to a lot of women, did a lot of research, trial and error. I even have a pair that Fricks made for me. I think I inspired the longer pad because back in the day when you had you were selling your first pairs, I was like, I really love this, but my flow is way too abundant. Like at night, forget it. That's just gonna not hold it. And I remember she was like, okay, maybe I can add some. So I have it, and it's all like makeshift, like added pad, and it's really great.
Yeah, I have one of those early, the first batch that we did.
Yeah, for sure. I should take it out. Like I thought of it later. I should check that out. But you know, the struggle sometimes is the fact that, you know, I experience it is the having to wash, because I don't have 10 pairs. You know, if I had 10 pairs, maybe I go through the whole thing and then it'd be fine. But is to constantly wash and not have the what's the word? Not have the ease of just like throwing it out, you know? Yeah. And yet my awareness of the environment has me go, you know what, I'll do the extra work. That's totally fine. But I'm sure that you are faced with that.
Yeah.
When you want to sell.
Yeah, for sure. You know, the first, because it's been now 4 years that we're doing that. And the first years I remember selling on Mont Royal, the Tam Tam, where on Sundays, you know, you have all these people selling jewelry and I don't know, pareo surrounds and stuff. And there we were with our little sign saying, zero waste and positive menstruation. We had that on a sign, and people would pass by like, what are these witches, whatever, doing? And for 4 years ago, like zero waste was not really a movement yet. It was starting, but not a movement. So definitely we had a lot of reaction, like from a whole, we would say like, it's a generalization, but like people more than 50 years old would just pass by and see the word menstruation and be so uncomfortable just reading it. You can see on their face, they would look away. So that was like one of the whole strata of the society was like out, like they wouldn't even
wow, the shame, huh? It's like this shame. It's like this, like, oh no, can't talk about it. Can't. Yeah, it's this discomfort.
They couldn't. They were almost like feeling bad about having, and even when my speech, for those that would dare to stop and see what is this, you could see like every time I would say the word for menstruation, people would like, get a little like, and for me, it became so easy. It became a word that I would say so much. I had no charge or no negative or judgment around that word. So the more I was saying it, I could feel like, because I was feeling comfortable talking about it, I could see like, it was like they were feeling more like relaxed about it. And then suddenly it's like, oh, you have this chick in front of me talking about menstruation like she would talk about how she make a pie or whatever. and it's totally fine. So I feel like there was a little teaching in that, or there was a subtle transmission to all these women we talked, even though they never bought the underwear. But just to have that conversation, for me, it felt meaningful, and it felt I was doing something right. I don't know why and really what, but it felt that there was a transmission in being at the Tam Tam, maybe selling one or two underwears during the day, and we'll be, yay, let's put some gas in the van, because we were living in the van, and we were like, yay, cool. Like, and at some point I was even, because we had a little stand, and sometimes there was not so many people in the area. So I would go with my little demo, and I would go around and just check. And as soon as I would see like 3 or 4 women sitting together, like when it's more like a women chilling zone friends, I would go and say, hey, can I talk to you about something? Have you ever heard about like this? And then I would sit, and it would be so like a beautiful conversation and creating some links. And then you could see some of them never really spoke about it, and it would spark like a conversation within about menstruation. And of course, sometimes I felt like I started and I was like, oh, they're not really receptive. And I was like, oh, no problem, just go. But yeah, so anyway,
sometimes it sparked that connection within, because we do, like I said earlier, I mean, it's so, even I'm super open, I'm like an open book, you want to ask me anything, but that there is a little bit of shyness, discomfort, maybe some shame, that we carry around. Yeah. And so did any of them, say flat out, because I know I've talked about the underwear to friends, and they're just like, oh, like what? No, like I have to, I have to wash it, or I have to. So how do you deal with that? What comes?
So basically the script is usually the person come and she would say like, oh, gross, like you have to wash it. Like that's something we would have a lot. And I was kind of even happy to receive that, because I was like, yeah, good opportunity to just, say. And what I get a lot is also about what about others? And women would just like shift their voice and put it like lower and be, yeah, but what about others? And that's actually my favorite. So the way I would deal with it, my answer would be, well, first of all, you need to know that your menstrual blood doesn't stink. So it's not your menstrual blood that has odor that you associated with your menstruation. Like when the blood is in contact with synthetic, which is pads or tampons or all the chemicals that are contained into this, it creates a chemical reaction, which gives like a much more like a power like odor that is not related to your body. But we've been associating this odor to ourselves, which actually is not, and we've been shameful about it. That's why there's like, what about odor? And like they want to see your reaction, because maybe we don't really talk about it.
Wow.
So, yes, of course, menstrual blood has a odor, in the sense that there is a body like odor to it, but it's not at all as strong as what we get when we use a tampons or pads, which is the norm and that people associate it with. So that's a revelation for most of them, like to say, just by the way, it's not you. It doesn't come straight out of your body with that odor. Like, just know. And for some women, that was enough to just be like, wow, cool. Maybe they won't use the underwear, but at least they have that conception now of they don't have to be shameful about anything.
Wow, that's great. That's so, I'm saying, like, I notice I'm saying, wow, because I'm so excited. I'm excited that all this information is getting out there, and every time you share, it is just, it inspires and it makes me excited that there is change. There is a way of communicating what's real, what's not, and shining light so that we can let go of this shame and this discomfort around something that is absolutely natural and gives life.
Exactly. And I think we touched on it yesterday when we spoke briefly, but to me, ultimately, that all is the mission is all to how can we dissociate menstrual blood with a trash, with un déchet, like how, because it's so wrong that what's so precious to life, like really our menstruation is just like the nest that the baby could live in, like it's life, it's pure life. And how this can be associated to something that is shameful, that we need to hide, and that needs to be trashed into something that will create pollution, as it is like life. Like this, when you look at it to that perspective, it's like this mental association that we have, not because you and I decided to have this thing, it's because it comes from the society, from all the way we've been thought about it, and for generations. So how can we dissociate that and start to see menstruation and the menstrual cycle as a tool, and a powerful tool, that if we are more educated, more aware, we can use that tool for a benefit, for benefits, and for the benefit of the planet and for the rest of humanity. Because really, it's a strength. It's such a strength. And some people would say that that's why also it's been suppressed so much since the early years, because somehow someone, patriarchy, whatever, knew that there's also a big strength into this, and suppressing it, making it peel, and making sure that it stays like in something that we don't talk about, would definitely
Suit them, right? It suits, it definitely suits the people in power. If we start claiming our power, that's a whole other ballgame. And then, what does that bring forth? How does that change the world?
Yeah.
By what you're saying, just talking about the, being when the déchets, the garbage, like as if it's got like, period, pad, garbage, that I throw it out, I don't look at it, I change, that when I started using the Diva Cup in combination with the Mme L'Ovary underwear, I became so much more in contact with my blood, and being able to with the cup, seeing my blood, like seeing it. It was the first, I was like, oh, it's not gross at all. Like it's actually really cool. And it doesn't smell.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's a whole other relationship with myself. And so to me, because of course there are moments where it would be easier to just be able to throw out the pad or put in a tampon and go, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the relationship that I create with myself, with my body, with my cycle, and like I'm a huge stand for loving myself fully. I think that's a huge part of it.
Exactly. And that's I love to hear that. And I think you're spot on. And as you're washing your underwear, instead of disposing it and trying to no, because we're on a mission and we're on a 24/7 rhythm that, the society dictates, and we need to be and well, as you're washing your underwear and taking the time, and sometimes, even me, sometimes oh yeah, shit, it's a step more. It's a step more. But as you're doing it, the reward that you get is so much more. When you do the maths, it's just not even comparable to what it gives you as, first of all, comfort. Just when you wear cotton instead of pads that are full of, that doesn't breathe.
Bulking up in your...
I mean, this is not even some women sometimes they're oh, I'm willing to switch to menstrual underwear, from pads to menstrual underwear because of the environment. And usually I say, this is great, that is your motivation, but after your first use, it might change and be you're using this more because it's so much more comfortable and it's a good side effect, but just so that you know.
Yeah.
So that's one. But just to come back to, as you're washing it, this relationship, putting your hands, there's something also like, it's an act, a ritual act to like, also when you put your hand and be in contact with your blood and like do like this and see the color of your blood, and you know, that water, we're talking about like rituals or concrete tools, what you can do to be more sync with your cycle. You can give that water with your blood back to the earth instead of like throw it in the bath or in the anyway.
You mean like,
Yeah.
So it's more, it's I love that. Yeah, it's powerful to kind of receive it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then put it into the earth to nourish the earth again. Because if it goes through a water system, it doesn't necessarily go to the earth, does it?
Well, not straight away. And you don't have like, I think it's like this act also, it's like creating a relationship with your cycle, with your blood, and with the earth. It's like saying to your brain, somehow it's like a psycho magical act, you know, you're just bringing this life that hasn't conceived, that is in your body, that you collect this, and you're giving it back to the earth for that connection, for that cycle. So it's like acknowledging that we are all part of a cycle, and we say thank you. We say thank you for everything we have, and we create that relationship. And it's hard to explain in words, and it's just a beautiful practice that I love to invite women to do and see for themselves what it creates, because it can create something for me that is different. But what I do know is that it is the most powerful thing ever, to give back your blood to the earth.
Wow. I'm gonna do that. I'm about to have my period, so I'm like, today, tomorrow. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna do that practice and see how it affects me, because I'm sure that, you know, the insights and the feelings and the thoughts are very unique to each woman. You know, what happens to each woman when they connect, with themselves. And wow, Erica, this has been a really fruitful, and like I'm learning a lot, and I'm also just discovering to what extent I want to learn more. I want to do more. I want to discover more about my cycle, and then share the impact that it's had on me, and especially through the self-love lens, you know. I'm so grateful. I would love for you to tell the community about the event that you do every month, right? Once a month?
Yeah.
Yeah, please tell us about that. And if there's one coming up, so very excited.
Totally. So the one next Tuesday, actually, at 8. So is it 8 or 7? No, 7, sorry. Anyway, the next Tuesday night, we have our next Table Rouge, which is basically, it's a monthly event that we started to do in person, because we were craving to see our community and to be with them and to host like it was like a 5 to 7, like un 5 à 7, like instructive. And it shifted to online because we realized that so many people are like in France that follows us. Our community is so much broader than Montreal and people in Quebec. And so we gather now around like 200 to 300 people live. And the intention of the event is to share knowledge about the menstrual cycle or the feminine health, let's say. So it's brother. And we invite different speaker every month. Sometimes it's 1, sometimes 2, sometimes 3. And people get to also ask questions. So it's very dynamic, very, I would say it feels intimate, even though we're quite a big group. It feels very intimate, and it's just real. And we're really bringing people from different walks of life. And we're not looking for like the one truth. We're trying to bring so many pieces that anybody that attend can create their own truth with it. so that they get inspired with different little things. So the next one, it's in French. It's called Santé utérine holistique. So we are going to discover a bit more about the uterus and his function, but more than just physiological, like the other dimensions of it. Super interesting. It's like shifting a vision around the uterus in our womb. So yeah, so you're all welcome to. It's free event, so it's really, we're doing this from our heart. It's really for the community and putting a lot of energy and towards.
Is it only for women?
There's men attending.
That's what I want to know. Yeah.
Yeah, we did one on sexuality last month, and there was a man, and yeah, everybody is welcome, really.
Amazing. Yeah, great. Because I was wondering about that, because I'm sure that there are, you know, other people that might not identify as women that are curious about the uterus, about the menstruation, so that's great that everyone is welcome.
Yeah. And even men, I say most of the time, like if a man would tap into the menstrual wisdom, like it would make his relationship to women, either their sister's mother or girlfriend, partner, it's a huge skill for a man to have as well.
Wow. Oh, I'm curious. Can you just say, like, we're going to complete soon, but I want to know a little bit, like, what is this men tapping into? Yeah, how does that work?
Well, it's for them to know, like, as a woman, it's hard sometimes to explain what's going on, like, to ourselves. And like we've been talking about, we need to observe ourselves and be able to, like, see it for ourselves. But if a man also has this knowledge, then he can read in his girlfriend or the person he lives with better. And maybe even if she's not aware, maybe help her, like, see those patterns or be less affected when there's, like, maybe he's observing it, because we live it and we don't observe it ourselves from outside, but from outside, like, they see a lot of stuff.
Sure do.
So it's a great tool to have for a relationship, I would say.
Oh, wow. Fascinating. Well, that's definitely a subject for another conversation. Like, I want to dive deeper into that at some point. But I love it. So we'll put the link to the Table Rouge in the comments so that anyone who would like to sign up can sign up. It's on Tuesday, 7 p.m. We're not too sure, but yeah, 7 or 8 around that time. But it's all good. And also, you wanted to offer a promo code to our listeners.
Totally. Yeah, we'd be happy to offer, like, the promo code. Do you want to? Oh, yeah, you put it here. So with that, you have $10 off any underwear you choose. And maybe if you want to see, I've brought one here. So this is one of them. I was inspired to do a little demo in like 30 seconds. Is that part of it?
Yeah, go for it. Yes, okay. Yes.
Good. So basically, for people that never saw what it looks like, a menstrual underwear, it looks like this. But what's interesting is the insider part. So on the inside, there is space to put some pads, which are not disposable, but washable. So the pads are designed to each fit like the size that you're choosing. And what's nice about the pads is that it doesn't have clips. So it doesn't move. It just inserts. So for me, it was a big, like, improvement. As a very active person, I would just do bike and I had the clip and then it would just move and twist. And so with that, like, as we said, this is something that a professional circus athlete designs. So it's made for, like, people that moves and also for everyday. So there you go. So that, and this makes it easy to change. So you remove and just put it like this and back into the little pocket, because that's one of the questions, people are like, but what do you do when it's done? Like, you're at work, how do you deal with that? So basically we designed also this little bag that has 2 sections. So you can just put the one that you just use in one section, and it's all anti-fluid material. And we would grab a new one and just put it back. So this means during the day, you don't have to change the whole underwear. You just change the pad, which makes it just much more easier, much more practical as well. So that's by the way, like what makes us unique, because if you look in other places, like other invention, this is really our invention. So we're very proud of it. So.
Well, I'm really impressed because I've seen you grow. I've seen and that, like, as an entrepreneur, as a woman, as you know, it is inspiring to see where you started and how you started. Like you said, you went to see the women, like one by one, you know, or 2, 3 by 3, and just explain. And that takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot of desire to bring good to others, you know? So I really want to acknowledge you for that. That's amazing. And you've grown so much. And, you know, we are starting to hear your name all around Montreal. So it's expanding for sure. Yeah. Keep doing what you're doing, Erica. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for just sharing this with your community. It's beautiful.
You're very welcome. I'll see you on Tuesday.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. And I really encourage you to check out Mme L'Ovary website. We'll put it in the comments, as well as the Table Rouge. I'll be there. I might host a little bit of a shake. So wink, wink. So come on over and check it out. And that'll also be in the comments. And the promo code is still on the screen. So write it down and go to the website. And if you would like another pair, go get another pair. And if you haven't tried it yet, believe me, you will not regret it. All right. Have a great day. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.